Okay, so we've had a good look at that from an expense perspective. What we can do to really quickly decrease the amount of expenses that are running through the business and make your bottom line look a lot better. The other side of it is revenue. So what can we do to increase revenue? And when you combine those two, the reduction in expenses, the boost in revenue, the results can be, really impressive. And when you then apply that result to a multiple, as I mentioned earlier, of maybe 2 or 2.5 or even sometimes more that you're going to be valuing your business off, the resulting increase in value of your business can be unbelievable. And when it comes to the time you take it to market, well, a solopreneur, a micro business owner can very quickly put thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of value into their business. All right, so increasing revenue. What can we do to increase revenue? Well, what I said earlier, and I just wanted to reiterate that, is what I'm not doing in this program is diving deep into a sales and marketing strategy. It's going to be very, very unique to each and every business, where you're getting your customers, the type of products you're developing for those customers, and a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into a really well thought out sales and marketing strategy to scale a business. What we are after are quick wins. What can you do as quickly as possible without draining resources, without without it being labor intensive, to really quickly put as much money, as much revenue through your business as possible. So what we're after here is quick wins. And you may find that you stumble across, I guess stumble across is not the right word. You may find that you have some success in identifying some really effective quick wins. And you're like, wow, that was a really, really successful campaign. And that may form a part of a greater long-term, more consistent sales and marketing strategy. But you'll find that out by testing a few things. So what can you do really, really quickly? Well, here's the first thing you could do. And what I'm going to teach you here, guys, are things that I did and things that work. So you maybe, as I mentioned earlier, be in a position to follow these to the letter, step by step, follow the things that I would recommend. Others, you may take inspiration, you may adapt or iterate to suit your business, but these are things that worked for me. And again, for a bit of context, what I did was, when I decided that I wanted to sell my business, I had a couple of really impressive years of numbers, of revenue, and my EBITDA, my PBITDA was really, really strong. I'll dive into that in a week or two as to what exactly those terms mean, as I mentioned earlier, so don't freak out if you're hearing them for the first time. But what I wanted ideally was 3 really strong years, consistent growth, okay, year on year, consistent growth. So, and I was a bit concerned about how I was going to replicate the success I'd had in the previous 2 years with this next year that I was taking my business to market, because the time that you present your business to market to the time that you actually exchange contracts, that can be quite some period. That could be 6 months, 10 months, 12 months. I think for me it was around 12 months. And things can fall over at the end. When you are getting close to the business end of the deal, you are selling a business based on something you're telling an interested party well back about what you anticipate the performance over the next sort of 6 to 12 months will be. So they want to see at the very end of the deal, when you're coming close to completion, that what is happening is what you said would happen all those months ago. So it's really, really important that you are able to keep your foot on the gas and your business performance is as predicted. So here's some things that I did. Some of them may work for you as well. The first thing that I did was to review my payment conditions. And I've put in there, the possibility of adding a discount for prepayment or creating a bundle deal. So what do I mean by that? Well, for a long time, maybe sort of 6 or 8 years, maybe even more, that I was running my business, I had a payment process in place whereby people would pay a 20% deposit when they booked, and they would pay the balance 7 days prior to touring. Now, I had a really big peak season that ran from like November through to February, and I did a huge proportion of my annual sales in that short window. So what I decided was that my payment process wasn't working for me. I didn't see any reason why people shouldn't be prepaying. It was a payment process that I'd kind of established a long time ago. It seemed okay at the time, 20% deposit, balance 7 days prior to touring. It seemed okay, and I'd just run with it for many years. And I decided in 2016, it was November 2016, that I was going to change my payment conditions and I was going to get as many people to prepay as possible. I figured, and my research and showed that sales wouldn't be impacted and there wouldn't be any pushback with me asking people to prepay rather than just to pay a deposit. So in November 2016, I was holding a huge amount of bookings. It was around $250,000 in bookings that were going to run between November of that year and February 2017, and that was a lot. So I was already holding those bookings for tours and for experiences that were going to take place over those next few months. So what I did, not only did I change my payment conditions for people moving for bookings that I was taking moving forward, that from that point, November 2016, we would require prepayment for all direct bookings that we took. But I went out to all of those bookings that I was holding, and I'm not sure exactly how many actual bookings there were, but it was around $250,000 worth of individual private day tour bookings that I was holding for the coming 3 months. And I had my team contact everyone that had booked with us to say, I'm not sure exactly how they worded it, but the gist of it was this. Just a heads up that moving forward, MPT is going to be changing their terms and conditions when it comes to accepting bookings and accepting payments. And all direct bookings from this point on will be, prepayment will be required. But we're very mindful that you have already booked and you've already paid your deposit. So you're well within your rights to pay your balance 7 days out as articulated in your booking confirmation. However, if you would like to now prepay for your upcoming service, we'd be happy to offer you a 5% discount. And it was amazing. Around 85% of those, some people just didn't get back in touch with us, but about 85% of people, the bookings that we were holding through that period said, yeah, sure, I'll pay in full, just charge my card that you've got on file. And they saved the 5%. And that was awesome. So it gave us a massive cash injection before peak season, which obviously made our numbers look amazing. But what it also did was it gave us this big lump of cash that we were able to reinvest some of in sales and marketing to make what was shaping up to be the best peak season we'd ever have and turn it into an absolutely outrageously good one. We ran more ads, we did more campaigns, we did more sales activities at our network of hotel concierges. We took the time to put together more of our sales and marketing presentations for our distribution partners, a whole range of other things. So some of those funds that we collected were used just to make our numbers look really good. Some were reinvested back into the business to make what was shaping up to be a really good peak season into the best we would ever have. And the thing is, when people started looking at our numbers, they didn't, they looked at this really strong November, this cash flowing into the business. They didn't ask questions. It's impossible for people who are looking at your business to ask questions about every aspect. They just saw this revenue like, wow, that was a really great, strong month. And, we didn't volunteer anything further on where that revenue came from. It was just that November was a really strong month. And the cash that we were able to reinvest back into our sales and marketing activities made sure that December, January and February were also really strong months. But people looking at those numbers in November would have seen this really significant spike in revenue when compared to the previous November, so filled them with confidence that the business was going in the right way. So the next that you could consider would be to create a bundle deal. Now this could apply to a whole range of different types of businesses, but let's say, for example, you run a small cleaning company. You are a residential cleaner. You might have a business partner that cleans with you. You might have a small team of cleaners. And let's say you do 100 residences, 100 homes in the week. And you go from house to house, you collect cash. Let's say it's $100 a clean. And most people are paying cash on the day. Others are transferring, money into your account, over the next week. So what would happen if you contacted each of those 100, let's call them accounts, houses, people that you service at this point in time, and you said, we're shifting away, not even to give them an option, but just we're shifting away from payment on the day, just to streamline our processes, and we're going to be requesting that you purchase a bundle of 10 cleans. And once that bundle of 10 cleans reaches 9, then we'll be charging the card that we have on file for the next bundle of 10 cleans. It's going to allow our systems and our processes to work more smoothly, our books, and it's going to allow us to improve our business, reduce the labor that goes into the payment process, and it's going to benefit everyone. And what we're going to do is we're going to reward you with a 10% discount on all those cleans. So your $100 weekly clean is now going to become $90, and we're going to request that you prepay those 10 cleans, and here's the link you need to go and make that payment. And I would imagine if you did that, you're not giving them an option. You're just saying, this is the way we're doing things right now. People are happy with your service. They're going to see, well, that serves me better because I'm not having to find cash every week or go to the bank or make transfers, all these kind of things. You're giving them a simple payment link. They're paying $900 for 10 cleans, and they don't have to think about it again. You don't have to think about it again. And you get this massive cash injection into your business. And imagine what you can do with that money. You can put on more cleaners. You can scale up more quickly. You can buy more equipment. You can buy that new improved super duper, steam cleaner that can add another string to your bow, and you can offer people that upsell, which I'll talk about a little later. There's just so many opportunities for you, and it's just so simple. So irrespective of whether you're taking your business to market or not, imagine if you were able to get that lump of cash into your business, what you could do with it, how good it would make your business look, how impressive it would be, but what you could do with those funds to scale up more quickly. With your sales, your marketing, your equipment, your recruiting, just everything. All right, so the next thing you can do is consider some experience enhancers or upsells. Now, remember what I said. What we're not doing here is reinventing the wheel. We're not going back to the drawing board. We're not developing new products which are time-consuming, resource-draining, labor-intensive. What we want to do is get some quick wins in place, some things that we can, I guess you might call them bolt-ons, enhance the experience, upsells, things that can increase the revenue that and the volume, the dollar volume of each booking, and then have a lot of that trickle down to the bottom line as well. So it makes your revenue look more impressive, and there's going to be some of that is going to trickle down to the bottom line and make your bottom line more impressive as well. So we resisted this for a long time in my business. We often had some of our customers in my travel business, in my day tour company, that said, can we book some hotels with you? Can you include the transfers from the airport? What about dinners? Can you offer can you add some dinners in there, or save us having to think about it? And you're the experts on the ground, you know where to eat. What about merchandise? Can we do some souvenirs? A whole bunch of stuff like that, and we resisted for so long because we sort of said, no, that's not what we do. It's not our core. We like to stick to what we do best, and that is offering really amazing, unique experiences. It's more labor intensive. We don't want to put a strain on operations, blah blah blah. But when it came to the point where I wanted to sell my business, I re-examined this and I thought, well, hold on, there are so many opportunities out there. And if I can dial in the processes, if I can streamline the operations side of it better, yes, it's going to take a little bit more work from my team, but the benefits could be massive. So what we did are things like this. I went out and approached 5 or 6 accommodation providers, so some city hotels that a lot of our clients stayed in, some regional accommodation, boutique accommodation in some of the regions that we ran tours in, and I negotiated a deal where we would book and recommend their accommodation, their hotel or their luxury retreat or their luxury lodge or whatever it was, and they would give us a 10% commission or a 15% commission, some even 20%. So we started including accommodation in some of our tour packages, and let's say we were adding in a hotel at $400 or $500 a night with a 10% or 20% commission. We were offering to add in airport transfers at $100 each way. We were recommending, we did a couple of deals with some really great signature Melbourne restaurants where they offered us like a 2-course or a 3-course with matching wine that we could recommend to our customers as a place that they would need to eat. And they would always take us up on our recommendation. We're like, well, you guys are the experts. If that's what you're telling us is the best place for the best possible Melbourne experience, fantastic. Add it into the price of our tour. So there'd be a small clip or commission on that. It might be 10% on a $100 meal voucher, whatever it was, but there was still some margin in there for us as well. We'd recommend some souvenirs. It might be a gift hamper. It might be a nice bottle of local Victorian wine. A whole range of other stuff. So we started making all these recommendations to our customers, and that increased the volume of the tours we were running. Increased the revenue of the tours we were running, made the business revenue look a lot more impressive, and a lot of that with the commissions and the margins that we were getting trickle down to the bottom line and made our bottom line look a lot more impressive too. And we then took this even a step further, and it didn't take a lot of time, but with all of our distribution partners, we put together and I'm going to share my screen and show what that looked like in just a second, a range of experience enhancers that they could present to their customers when they were creating their Australian holidays, and ways that they could enhance their experience, and a whole range of upsell opportunities that we could offer. So that was really, really effective as well. And here's what it looked like. Okay, so I just wanted to share these with you. This, just to give you an example of something that I did with a lot of success, and it didn't take a lot of time for us to create. Probably about a week of time from one of my staff to really pull this together, but it was super, super effective. And it was a kind of like a menu of experience enhancers that we offer to our distribution partners. And a lot of our in my travel related business, a lot of our travel agents that were sending us a lot of business, so they were able to offer this and present this to their customers, and we offer this to a lot of our direct customers as well. So I don't have a specific dollar amount on how effective it was to offer these experience enhancers over a period of time, but it resulted in us generating a lot more revenue from every booking. So basically it was all about enhancing the experience with a whole range of really, really cool stuff that they could add on to the tour that they had already booked. So for our Melbourne tour, we could offer them things like a Eureka Sky Deck with Edge experience. Now we've got the rates, the applicable rates here that it would take to enhance the experience. With these upsells, a little bit of information about the amount of time that would be required to be added to a tour. And we did this for every single tour that we did. Some of them are really, really lucrative. So we could add a balloon flight with breakfast for $470, and some of them were kind of low cost, so an extra $35. And a commission on those would have been somewhere between about 10 and 25% from every single type of experience that we added. So we had a lot of success in encouraging people to take these upsells to enhance their experiences with these add-ons. And this was something where we didn't have to go out and reinvent the wheel, develop new products. We already had all this stuff on file. We had the rates on file. We had descriptions. We had images from all of these different types of suppliers. So it was really, really easy for us to pull this together into one document, making it easy to book. There was the duration, the time that it would add on to a tour, the rates for both adults and children. And that, for the small amount of time it took to pull together this range of experience enhancers, was very, very lucrative. So rather than us go back to the drawing board of developing new product and identifying new markets and a lot of stuff that's time intensive, labor intensive, we were able to pull this together and just make a lot more money from our existing customers and from the bookings that we were already holding. So it was really, really effective. I'm going to leave a copy of this in the resources so you can take a look at that as well. Okay, and so you can apply the same principle to any type of micro business or small business. If you're a solopreneur running a cleaning company, so we'll use the cleaning company example again. Well, what if you were in a position to offer an experience, like an experience enhancer, whereby every month you could do a window clean Or what if you could offer a steam clean of a carpet or a rug or a couch as a little upsell, a little bolt on to your standard, your core residential cleaning experience. Now, you could consider purchasing some equipment to do these. You could hire, you could borrow, you could lease, whatever it is. But if little things like that, which may complement your core offering really, really well and aren't a big drain on time, labor, resources for you, well, if you could do these 20% cheaper than it would cost somebody to go out there and find that service on their own, and you can actually present that to them. This is what it costs on market for you to get this experience. We're going to do it for X amount. Then simple things like that could be really effective. And you might even consider hiring someone to come in and just perform that task for you. If you could hire someone at $20 an hour who's performing a steam clean that you're offering for $95 an hour at a whole bunch of residences that you're cleaning at, well, that's a really profitable upsell. So the next one, collaborations. And what I've done in the resource section of week 3, I've added in a bit of a template that you can use to try and get a collaboration off the ground. But collaborations are everywhere. And if you're in an industry, well, take the tourism industry right now, tours and activities. People all over the world are falling over themselves to find a new way to just get by in an industry that's been really, really hard hit. And collaborations are everywhere for you to explore. So what do I mean by that? Well, what about if you would consider offering a complimentary service to yours in like a package deal? So let's say you run kayaking tours and you've got a competitor over there in that, in the same kind of region that does hikes or that does mountain biking or something like that. And technically, you actually do compete for the same kind of customer. What if you could collaborate, you could join forces, and you could actually create a product which would only come in the form of, like a web page, or it could be a flyer, or it could just be a short presentation to a bunch of hotel concierges in your region. But if you could create a package that included your experience and their experience for X amount, and you sell it as one product, well, that's a really, really simple, effective collaboration that is super easy to get off the ground. So look around you. What kind of experiences are out there that are complementary to yours? I mean, it could even be, let's say you run you've got a dive center and there's a boat company that runs people back and forth from the island. Well, what if you actually could team up and you could actually create that package together, if you haven't already thought of it, but as some kind of a package where you are offering a service that's complementary to another, and you're actually bringing it together, and you're formalizing it and offering that to market at a set price that includes both of those experiences that you could. I mean, clearly it's going to look different in every business, but it could even be so much. It could even be something that you run on the same day. So the day starts with experience X with a shuttle or a transfer to experience Y that runs in the afternoon. Or it could even be something simpler. It could be something as simple as you taking bookings for another service for a 10% commission or a 20% commission, which takes a bit of thinking from an operations or from a reservations perspective. But if your operations and reservations are dialed in, you think you can manage it really, really, simply and efficiently, then that is a really easy way for you to add some revenue or get some revenue running through your business. So as I said, I'm going to drop a template into the resource section that you could use when you approach someone with a proposal for a collaboration. Because when you have an idea to collaborate with someone, the fastest way to failure is just to do it informally and verbally. Oh, hey, I've got this idea, we should collaborate, we should refer some customers, or we should do this and we should do that, and sit down, have a meeting, and you both get these ideas out there. You say, yeah, that's great, sounds wonderful, and nothing happens. The best way, the most effective way for you to actually see something through and to create a really lucrative collaboration is to formalize it, document it, and get some clear action steps, some targets, and to allocate roles. I mean, like who's going to be responsible for what, and some timelines. So those kind of things, and I'll show you when you look at that template, you'll see what I mean. And that putting your ideas, your thoughts into a formal document that you can actually approach someone with is going to be the fastest way for you to have some success in getting a collaboration off the ground. So the next, targeted campaigns. So as I mentioned earlier, what we're not wanting to do with this cash campaign is to get bogged down in laborious, time-consuming product development or identifying new markets, things that are costly and take labor and take time. What we're after is quick wins. So creating campaigns, revenue-generating campaigns that can be done quickly, easily, effectively, and really, really cheaply, that's the way we're going. So what I would suggest is to focus on the people within your network already. And I would avoid blanket promotions and campaigns to your wider community. What I would be recommending you do is to think strategically about the people in your community and breaking them down into these three areas: your customers, your leads, and your audience. So your customers, people that have spent money with you, or people that have paid deposits and are set to spend more money with you at a time down the line. Your leads, people that have inquired about your product, your service, but haven't actually spent money with you yet. And then there's your audience. So people that have digested your content, but they haven't inquired about your product or your services so far. So using myself as an example, so my audience, I've got an audience of probably around 10,000. Now mine is an email list. Okay, I've got a couple of Facebook groups that I administer as well. Now my leads, for me, they're people that have been really engaged with my content. If I've had some promotions, or if I've written some emails, or I've created some videos, that they're really engaged, they digest my content, they've had a really close look at the stuff that I do. And then there's my customers, people that have spent money with me. So when I'm creating campaigns, when I'm creating promotions, I look at these people very, very differently, and they get very, very different messages. So I'm basing this on the assumption that as a micro business owner, you have created some kind of a community, some kind of an audience. You might be creating content. You might have an email list. You might have a social media following. And from that audience, you might have a bunch of leads. So people that have inquired about your services, your product, as far back as 5 or 10 years, who knows, you might have that much data. That'd be amazing if you did. People that have inquired about your product or your service, but didn't actually buy from you. And then you've got your customers. So a targeted campaign for your customers would be something along the lines of an upsell, an experience enhancer. It could be adding in that window clean, or that steam clean of a rug or carpet. It could be that once in a lifetime helicopter flight to complement that private day tour. It could be for a web design firm, that SEO review or that design job. Something that can encourage people that have spent money with you to spend more money with you. Then for your leads, a campaign to encourage people that nearly spent money with you to actually take the next step and spend with you. And then for your audience, a completely different type of campaign. But by creating blanket campaigns where you're offering something to your customers, to your leads, and to your audience, you can have nowhere near the level of success you will have if you zero in and create specific campaigns that speak to those three types of people. So again, I'm basing this on the assumption that you at this point have some kind of an audience that you've built, be it an email list or a social media following. Now, a campaign or what to actually create or to offer, what kind of offer to create. Well, if you're not sure, sometimes it can be as simple as just starting a conversation. You know what people love? They love engagement. They love for you as a business owner to value them, to actually listen to their opinions, to want to know about their problems and the solutions they're after, want to know about their desires that they want satiating. So sometimes it can be as simple as just starting a conversation. And I'll give you an example here. So this is what I call the 9-word email. And this email, now I send a lot of emails to my community. Yes, a lot to my audience. I send different emails to my leads. I send different emails to my customers. But this 9-word email is possibly the most effective, most engaging email that I've ever sent. And I do it quite regularly to different sections of my community. So it's an email that just asks your leads a simple question, as if you're talking to a friend. And what it does is it generates really great engagement, and pretty much you can invite them to do anything you like from that point, or you learn about the kind of things that they want. So it goes like this: subject, hey, and then just the first name. Do you still need help with X, Y, or Z? Then your name. So do you still need help with, and for me, it could be scaling your business or getting it ready for market or doubling the market value of your business, something along those lines. For that cleaner, it could be with those additional cleaning services like your windows, like your steam cleaning. With the web design company, it could be with your SEO or with your brochure design or whatever is relevant. Obviously, I'm not a web designer, so I can't say specifically what it is, but just something that gets people engaged. People will come back to you and say, hey, yeah, or no, but I'd love some blah, 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 blah. They just love engagement. And they'll pretty much tell you what they want and what they don't want. And that's going to enable you to really quickly put an offer together to present to them. And that offer is not going to take a whole range of brochure creation or a new website or bells and whistles. It can be something as simple as a payment link or a quick email or an SMS. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a second. But that is what people value more than anything else, is engagement, questions, an opportunity for them to tell you about the things that they could use in their lives that you could provide them with. And that brings me to my next point, the concept of the minimum viable product. Okay, so minimum viable product. What I would not recommend is that you go out and spend time, energy, labor, money creating a brochure or redesigning your website with new offers, or getting design work done, a whole bunch of other stuff like that. It's just not necessary. What you want to do, once you've decided on a revenue generating activity or a couple of revenue generating activities that you'd like to explore, well, how are you actually going to present that in the easiest possible way with a minimum viable product, just to test your idea, just to see if there's interest in it and people are actually going to buy it. So what I would suggest is that all you need at this stage is something. Let's say if you're the cleaning company that I talked about, it's a simple SMS with a payment link. Hey, we're doing this. These are the basic details, and here's the link you need to get started. Rather than going to any more trouble with design or brochures or anything like that. If you're offering a range of experience enhancers or upsells to your existing customers, it doesn't need to be a fancy brochure or any sort of presentation or anything more detailed that goes into it than just a simple email with a next steps, how to pay. Here's what it is, here are the next steps, here's how to pay. Could be something as simple as an order form that's in a Google Doc. If I use myself as an example, well, if I create a new online course, well, what I don't do is go ahead and create 9 weeks worth of modules and content with the bells and the whistles. What I do is create, at the absolute most, a sales page, which gives people an opportunity to read about what's included in the course and a link for them to actually buy it, with an indication as when they can expect week 1 content. And then, and only then, once I get a whole bunch of signups, do I then go ahead and start creating the course. So the sales page may only take me, an hour, possibly a couple of hours. And if I don't get any interest, if people don't buy it, if I don't get that first bunch of 5 or maybe 10 sales, then I don't go ahead and build the course. I send an email back to those people that did purchase. Maybe it was 1 or maybe it was 2. And I say, look, there hasn't been enough interest in the program, so it's back to the drawing board so I can better understand exactly what it is that people need and the problems they want solved, so I can then go ahead and create the course that people specifically want. So here's your money back, and it's back to the drawing board for me. I'll be back in touch once I've refined and honed and improved the program. So people don't want and don't need the fancy design work, the bells and whistles. They need the bare bones right now. What people want is a solution to a problem, or they want the satiation of a desire. So once you have the idea for a revenue generating activity or revenue generating campaign, test it with a minimum viable product. Okay, so if you're wondering, why we're doing this and if it's worth it, if it's going to work, I'll give you a bit of insight into what happened in my business. So I was told about this concept, this 60-day cash campaign, and it really appealed to me. I gave it a go, and it was the thing that I hoped was going to drive my business to the finish line. So here's what happened when I implemented this, and I got my team involved. I told everyone what we were doing, or that we were seeking out, investment in the business so we could go forward more quickly, scale faster. Those things that I mentioned earlier, blah blah blah. And so when I implemented it over 2 months, here's what happened. It resulted in a $26,000 saving in expenses, and to add to that, $18,000 in extra revenue. So the total, swing to the better for my business was $44,000 by implementing this cash campaign over 60 days. And I was absolutely blown away by the results. And I made a decision then and there that we would do this twice a year. Because at this stage, I didn't know whether I was actually going to be successful in selling my business, but I said to myself, if I'm running this business for the next 5 years or 10 years, I'm going to do this same campaign twice a year, and I'm going to refine it. I'm going to improve it, work out what works, what's less effective, and it is going to form a part of my greater sales and marketing strategy. It was so effective. So just to give a bit of context as well, based on what I've just told you, let's say, when we're talking about what it does to the value of your business, imagine you got a business and it's doing $30,000 a month in sales. So I'm just using a few numbers here for ease. So you're doing about $360,000 a year in revenue, and you've got expenses of around $15,000 a month. So your bottom line profit, your net profit is about $180,000 a year. Now, if it comes time to sell your business and you find out that the multiple range that people tell you, when you go through the process, and again, don't worry, I'll be telling you about how to go through the process of working out the multiple and applying it to your business and how to value your business and how to give it the best possible valuation a little later. But let's say, for example, it's 2 to 3 times is the valuation range that you're given. So let's say that you implement a cash campaign, a 60-day cash campaign, and that nets about an extra $10,000 a month in revenue. And you reduce expenses by about $5,000 a month, which is absolutely achievable, especially when you run this for the first time. So the value of your business has just increased from $360,000 to $540,000, or using that higher multiple, $420,000 to $630,000 is the value of your business. So that's an increase of somewhere between $60,000 and $90,000 potentially in the appraised value of your business. That's how powerful implementing a cash campaign like this can be. Something you can use for the to really sort of get clarity over what your 60-day cash campaign is going to look like. So you can use this, and again, you can work it in to suit your own business. But the important parts of this would be this: what's your major goal for this. So I guess the major goal for you here for this 60-day cash campaign is to set yourself some targets. What would you love to see happen, whether it's over the next 60 days and the flow-on effect over the next 12 months. So what you're going to be able to achieve in 60 days is going to be really impactful, but the flow-on effect is going to last over 12 months. So what is your major goal? Be specific about your major goal for this. So what sort of a quick summary, if we're talking about sales targets, what kind of targets are you going to set, or revenue targets are you going to set? So to actually have some goals that are documented, that are clear, that you can refer back to is really, really important. And what kind of milestones are you going to set? So how are you going to achieve these increases in revenue? What kind of milestones are you going to measure them by? And here's where you're going to provide a kind of a general overview of the planned activity. So remember, you're going to start with one campaign, okay? And you might have some ideas for others, but let's just start with one campaign. So get some details down here in a document just like this. So what's the planned activity? What are the specifics of the activity? What are the timeline? Like, what are the steps and when are they going to happen? Who's owning this particular campaign or this sales or revenue generating activity? How are you going to measure its success? And when are you going to measure its success? So these categories might be very, very relevant to you. They, it might give you inspiration to create your own type of categories. But it's all about documenting it, referring back, and making sure you're on track and being clear on the steps that need to be taken to achieve the end result. Budget. So what we're going to be focusing first of all on one specific campaign. What's the activity? Is there a budget allocated? What's that budget for? Any relevant information or notes that you feel should be documented? And when are you going to review the success of this activity? So what date do you agree to review it? Who's going to be in attendance or who is in attendance? And some relevant notes that come from that review meeting. So something like that, just so you can actually keep track of your the campaign or the planned activity and measure its success over, well, let's say those first 60 days. Okay, so here's a few action steps that I want you to take in week 3. And I've got a template that you can use there in the resource section. What I want you to do, first of all, is put some thought into 3 new revenue generating activities. Brainstorm 3 new revenue generating activities, ways that you can get more revenue coming into your business. So just get a piece of paper out or use the template that I've provided there and have some fun. What can you do right now that's not going to take you a lot of time and a lot of effort? And bearing in mind the things that we've talked about, well, I've talked about in this lesson about being specific about targeting either your customers or your leads or your audience. Is it a collaboration? Is it an experience enhancer? Is it an upsell? Whatever it is, what are 3 ideas you've got that you think are really, really good ideas? So that's where we start. Then I want you to take each of those 3 ideas and list the actual steps that are required. So that's the idea. That's what you want to put out there into the world. What do you actually have to do to make that happen? Okay. And what is it going to cost to make it happen? And how long do you think it's actually going to take from idea to execution? Because that's going to help you make a decision on which one you're going to choose first up. Okay. You might have some great ideas, but when you actually write out, list out those steps, you're like, wow, there's actually quite a bit in this. Wow, it's quite involved, and it's not going to be as easy to execute as I think. It might be actually quite costly. Oh, wow, that's going to cost something. I didn't actually realize that when I first had the idea. Or wow, that's actually going to take quite a lot of time to execute that. So list out the steps. What do you actually have to do to make it happen? And then how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? Once you've listed those out, give yourself a little bit of time to digest, to think about them, and then I want you to choose one. Okay, so just choose one new revenue generating activity and execute it. Okay, so that's your task. Now, I just want to reinforce what you've learned so far in this program. results are really important. Implementation, execution is really important. So when someone's having, showing interest in your business, for them to actually see a result, well, here's what I've done to grow my business. Well, that's really important. But the thing that's next best, the next most important thing is a plan. Okay, so even though you might choose one new revenue generating activity, you might execute it. You're like, wow, I've had some success there. That's putting an extra $10,000 of revenue through my business each month. Awesome. You might have another couple of ideas that you haven't actually implemented, but are really great ideas, because I'm mindful there's only one of you. You can only do so much right now. Okay, so choose one, but you might have two or three other ideas, and you might get a really clear action plan in place. You've listed out the steps, you've identified the costs that it's going to incur to implement this idea, to execute this idea, and you've got a clear idea, well, fairly clear idea on how long it's going to take to implement. You know what? That stuff's valuable. Because when you present that to someone who's looking at your business, you're going to say, well, here's my business. This is what it's doing. This is the revenue. This is the bottom line profit. This is my EBITDA. This is where I get my customers from, blah, 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 etc., etc. But where's it going? Where is that next level of success going to come from? Well, here are two other revenue generating activities that once I have the time, because I'm having so much success over here that I haven't actually had time to invest my time and energy over here. But here are two other ideas that are going to very quickly put X amount of revenue through your business. So if it was me in the driver's seat in a year or 2 years or 3 years from now, here's what I would be doing to increase my monthly revenue by $5,000, $10,000 or $20,000. Here's the steps that I would need to take. This is what it's going to cost. This is the investment that I foresee is required. And this is how long I think it's going to take to implement. I've put really deep thought and consideration into this, but I haven't actually executed just yet. And that's really valuable. So there's your action steps for week 3, and I very much look forward to seeing what you produce.